Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket tens. In this hand, we have villain 1, the under the gun player, open raises at 2.8. We can see he's playing 35-11. Seems to be kind of a loose passive type player. I have note that he says he might be calling down with any pair here. When we look at his stats, his raise first in stats, I think we see something rather interesting, and that is that in early position he tends to limp. 3 out of 15 hands he limps, and then he raises first in, 1 out of 15 or so. Now his raise first in increases with position. Is this a possibility of just getting, not getting hands, not getting raising hands? Yeah, but, I'm going to say that we're going to play this as if he is very tight early position, and then loosens up and starts playing position a little bit more. You can also see the limp first in drops off. I mean, only 1 out of 12 in mid position, and then he didn't limp and cut off our button. So I think in early position, he's probably more apt to limp. When he raises, he's going to be pretty tight. So I'm going to give him something like this. This is, 7% range. 8s or better. Suited broadways, not even all suited broadways, and then ace queen. Offsuit ace queen, offsuit ace king. Something pretty tight. I would consider this a tight early position player, which means when it gets to me, I'm looking at, a range estimate that is basically versus a tight player. And I mean, there's a difference. So this is my calling range versus a tight player. This is 3-bet range versus a tight player. So kings plus ace king is the 3-bet. And then we're calling ace queen suited, and then queens jacks and tens. If he was not a tight player, we've got a 3-bet range that includes now queens and ace queen, and a 3-bet or call range of ace jack, king queen, queen jack, all suited, and then 9s through jacks. So you can see that versus a what I would call a typical early position, we can 3-bet or call with slightly weaker hands. We're 3-betting, ace queen. We're 3-betting with a few more hands, but versus a tight player, where we're possibly dominated, to ace king, then we don't really want to raise some of these hands. We could be behind. So I'm going to play versus the tight range here. Versus tight range, I called. And then big blind called. Big blinds also looks like he's playing loose passive. It's under 100 hands. I think if anything, if we look at the big blind here, he has played 75% of hands, or at least cold called 2-bets 75% of the hands. He's probably just coming in to see flops. I put something together, almost 50% of hands. This could be tight still. He could be playing, basically any king, maybe any queen, but something very wide. I think this can work. So we then see a flop of 7-7-3. All right. So in theory, this misses everyone, except if you think about my tight range, I have pocket pairs. Yeah, villain 1 could have pocket pairs. He could have aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens. He can have those hands. Villain 7 could also have those, but he's got a lot of hands that completely miss. You can see his massive range. So I'm not too worried about villain 7, and villain 1's more likely to miss this board, unless he has a high pocket pair. So villain 1 bets 7. He bets actually fairly large. Would he necessarily bet, aces or kings like this large? I don't think so. His c-bet stat is 100%, 2 out of 2 when he's in position, 0 out of 1 when out of position. So this is the first time he's doing it. But I think betting 7 just seems out of the ordinary for aces or kings, maybe even for queens. Just seems a little out of the ordinary. So I'm kind of thinking that he has like ace high hand. maybe even, I mean, ace high, ace king, ace queen, ace jack, maybe not even ace 10, but ace high hand. He's hoping to bully people out. He recognizes that this board probably misses, and when he does this, so this is 71.4% of hands. When he does this, what's our play? What do we do? I think this is a spot where we could probably benefit from raising. I think we could raise with almost our entire range here. Our entire range is very tight. It's ace queen, tens, jacks, queens. I don't think we could have a mixed strategy. I don't think we can check some of our range and bet other. I think this is just we're either always betting or we're always calling. And I think I'm leaning towards a bet here because I recognize, or I think the assumption here is that this board misses our opponents. We have these mid pocket pairs. We don't want to see a Broadway card come out on the next card because that could destroy our equity. So I think we kind of go for our value now. If he calls with a draw and catches, he calls with the draw and catches. But we don't want to call here and then kind of be playing the guessing game. I think if we raise here and then get 3-bet, probably means villain has a pocket pair, and then at that point we're probably beat because I think villain's gonna have bigger pocket pairs. If we call, we still have to play it a little bit cautiously. We can't go overboard and say, well, we've got a pocket pair, so let's bomb the pot, because he could easily be calling with jacks maybe, and afraid that we beat him with a higher pocket pair. But I think this might be a good spot to raise here. Really take the initiative. If he folds, so be it. There's 15 big blinds in the pot. So I think I'd raise maybe up to 21 and see what happens. So I raised, and I'm going to say we were basically raising our entire range here. This villain misses, no big surprise. You can see he's got almost 50% of his hands is nothing. And then I think if we raise, I think he is calling or raising with his overpairs, and you can see queens, jacks, tens, nines, eights. Tens are dropped down to one combo. So it's about equally likely to have jacks and queens as it is to have eights and nines. And then we could also say, kings and aces, small percentage of the time. I'd kind of give the edge to these higher ones if he comes over the top with a 3-bet. If he 3-bets with ace king, ace queen, ace jack, so be it. We make a note, but based on his stats, I think he's probably more of a passive type player. At least that's kind of what I think. Hasn't really 3-bet. Let's see here. Yeah, he floats 2 out of 2. Maybe post flop aggression. So I missed it. So I think I missed this raise. Ace of club. That's what we don't want to see, because I think that connects with a lot of his c-betting range that he would. I mean, all of his range that was going to c-bet is going to be heavy with the aces. And now villain goes ahead and checks to us. So what kind of hands does he check? I think this comes down to the player type. Is he the player that c-bets with the aces, and then once he connects with it, he's going to check and hope to induce? Or is he the player that has one of these pocket pairs and then sees the ace and gets scared? So he does check. We missed our shot at raising, but we do have ace. Now the question is, would we have called a c-bet with ace king? ace queen, ace jack type hands, because I think we could say we have at least 1 or 3 combos, maybe more, of an ace X hand. Maybe not all the ace X hands, but maybe we have some. So this is kind of a tough one. I would think that he would continue betting his aces. I personally think he would continue betting his aces. So that kind of leaves these pocket pairs that's in the top card. We can always take a note. I don't have a note on here about him c-betting and then slowing down. So this is going to be interesting. Again, I can't discount the ace because some players will see that ace connect with with the top pair, and then say, well, now I'm going to check and try to get me to bet. So he checks, and then I'm looking at my hand, and I think at this point we missed our opportunity to raise. And I think if I bet, I really don't think he's going to be folding his aces. Now, there is a possibility that he could fold his jacks or queens. If we look at combos here, we're looking at 12 combos that may get scared that I have the ace, may just dump it. If he has like a hand like king queen, like a strange king queen that he played like this, I don't think he's calling those no matter what, but we beat those. We beat those right now. So I kind of think like we're going to be checking behind just kind of as a precaution. Because again, I think if we bet, the hands that call are going to be only hands that beat us. Now we could bet here and kind of take the free showdown. That could be the play that would save us, because I think if we check and then the turn is a 2 or a 4, something low, if villain bets, we might be forced to call, just to kind of keep him honest. It would kind of be a tight fold. I think we would be correct in folding, but it would be a tight fold. So alternate play, instead of checking behind, is to go ahead and bet half pot and then hope we get to see a free showdown. If we improve with our 10, that would be absolutely fantastic. But I think that's kind of where we're at. And then we do get that 2 of clubs, which is pretty innocuous. Villain 1 checks again. At this point, I think I'm discounting any of the top pair here. And I'm going to say we are looking at a pocket pair. And would he fold? Probably not. I would have to make it a massive, massive raise, I think, to maximize fold equity. I think no matter what I do, he's planning to check call with his aces if he has them, check call with his queens or jacks if he has them. So at this point, I don't see any way of winning the hand. So I did just check behind. And he shows queen, so it was in that pair, that pocket pair. I'm a little surprised that he bet as large as he did with his queens. We had it in his range. We said aces and kings might be betting a little bit smaller. Queens are kind of cut off because I don't know, some people don't want to see that ace and they get fearful of the ace coming on the turn of the river. Do I agree with the play? No, not really. But we do have enough information where we can now add a note on this player that said, yeah, he bet larger, bet a fairly size large c-bet on the flop, and then just slowed down once that scare card, once that ace came. Now, how would my flop raise have handled it? Well, let's talk about that. With his hand, I think if we raise here, he's probably calling. And then when the ace hits, he may find a fold on that turn. So let's go back to the flop. He bet 7, we raise to 21. He calls. If he comes over the top, we can just fold. I think we're beat at that point. So, we lose 21 big blinds, but I think we have very reliable information that we're beat. if he just calls, we've got, let's go back here, 21, 42, so 50. We've got 50 big blinds in the pot. 50 big blinds in the pot. He's going to check to us, and then we can fire out probably 35 big blinds or so. I think 25 is going to be a little low, but I think we can go a little bit higher than that, fire out 35 or so. And I think we may be able to pick up a fold with the ace. We're kind of representing either a 7 or a pocket pair, and the question is, would we really have a 7? Maybe. 92 hands is what we have at the table. The villain only has 87 hands, or we have 87 hands on the villain. That means he only has 87 hands on us. And it's a possibility that we've connected with that 7. I've seen other craziness, but I think that ace comes out as a scare card. I don't think villain's going to be betting with ace king, ace queen, and then calling a 3-bet. So I think we fire out again 35. If he calls, we're going to probably be done with the hand, because there's really no reason, no draw out there that would cause him to call. So then when that 2 of clubs hits and he checks us, I think we just check behind. Kind of expect to be losing. So I think in this hand, I think I much prefer raising c-bet here, taking control and firing the turn if I get called, or folding if he 3-bets. Hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another hand.